Hello. Today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be conducting a red food coloring dye test on my Black Berkey water filtration system. I'm also going to show you what I do after I conduct that test. This is in reference to a previous video that I have done some time ago on my cleaning procedures when it comes to my gravity filtration system for my home, my cabin. That's what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm going to collect some things up and we're going to get started. I'm going to say this now and I'll probably say it again sometime during the course of this, is that all I have to offer you folks out there is my word. I realize that you are watching this on the internet, YouTube, Facebook, some sort of platform, and I'll probably reiterate that. I sympathize with that. You can't trust everything you see on the internet. But I'm giving you my word. That's all I have to offer you when I'm conducting this test of my Berkey water filter system after 10,000 plus gallons of water. All right, let's get this started. So, folks, welcome back. My name is Tom, and you've come across the channel 3 Basket Living. And today what I'm going to do, as I've said, is I'm going to test my Black Berkey composite filters from the Big Berkey that I have used since 2014. We're going to do the red dye test. First thing I'm going to do here, and then we'll talk a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to empty out what's remaining in my upper chamber here. Water. If you can tell, I have two Black Berkey filters in my upper chamber here. And these are the original Black Berkey filters that I purchased back in 2014. Somewhere, I think it was June or July. These are the same Black Berkey filters from day one when I purchased my Big Berkeys. I actually bought a couple of these. So what I have done is I have figured out that since then and until now, I am going to end up with about 10,200 gallons, give or take, of filtering water through these exact same filters from the day that I bought them. It was a little more, it was closer to 11,000 I thought, but I realized that I had had these out of service for approximately 4 months. That's using or filtering about 5 to 6 gallons a day since around June or July of 2014, minus the 3 or 4 months that these were out of service. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this red dye test according to Berkey's instructions. First thing I'm going to do here is I've already got me some tap water. These are coming out of jugs here, but I just decided to save a little bit of time and fill some empty distilled water jugs. It's not distilled water, this is my tap water. I am making a mess here. So I want a gallon, and Berkey says that you need to put approximately 1 tablespoon of red food dye. I'm using this brand here, and per gallon capacity. I'm assuming it's going to be the upper chamber capacity, which is about 2 gallons. Now this bottle here, this particular bottle here is, hold on a second, it is 29 milliliters. Full 2 tablespoons for the 2 gallons of water that we're going to use. I need 30 milliliters. And just in case somebody disputes my not using enough food coloring, I'm going to make sure that I get 2 tablespoons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this red dye, and I put my water in this stainless bowl because I did not want to put it in plastic because it's just going to, I guess I could have used them plastic jugs, it doesn't matter. I didn't do that. Okay, empty upper chamber. I'm using this as the lower chamber so that we can see what actually takes place here on my red dye test. You should be able to see it pour out here, I hope. Let me turn it like so. There's 1 gallon. I should have had this ready to go. We're going to put another gallon of water here. And I know I should have pretty close. I should have pretty close to 30 milliliters. I mean, this is 29 milliliters. I'm going to add a little bit more just to satisfy any doubters out there. I'm going to just pour it in there. I guess I could have. And I'm going to get another one here. This bottle here is about halfway full of this red dye. I'm going to just go ahead and give me a few more squirts in there just to satisfy everybody. It don't need to be stirred up. It's already going. And the reason I'm going to go ahead and do the 2 gallons because I want this water, this red food coloring water here above my filter so it encompasses. I even got some left. So that might be a little bit more than 2 gallons I mixed up. That's okay because I need that. I forgot I was going to do this here. I'm going to pour the rest of it here in this glass mason jar, and I've cleaned everything as best I can, and I want to use this as a gauge for what we end up having here. I'm going to put this red food color in here. I'll go ahead and let me grab the camera here. See, I'm not going to edit this. Bear with me here. Let me figure out how to do this without stopping this thing here. If I can get it undone here. I think, let's see here. You should be able to see red food coloring, water in there. And we're going to leave that like so. Let me mount you guys right back up. That's what she said. Something like that. Alright, are we good? Now, so we got that going. I'll go ahead and put my lid on here. I want to be careful. This ain't a perfect fit on here. And then I'm going to stick a piece of cardboard. One side's white, one side's brown. And what I want to do here is I want to put a barrier here between the red water here. And then I'm going to take, do I have any more water? I'm going to just use some tap water, I suppose. And I'm going to, I don't know, I guess I'll set it on this side of the canister. And I'll put, what's that, the brown side on that side? I'll put brown on this side. I guess it matters. Now there's some air in this here glass of water because it's coming straight from my well. So I wanted to get this going because one of the things that I would want to try to do is try to do this without any skipping, jumping, editing, and stuff like that. I'll do what I can, but I'm not going to be able to wait for this process to go through completion. So let me reiterate some things. Number one is I am on well water. That's what I filter day in and day out. These filters have only seen about 3 months of filtering municipal water since 2014. I mentioned that they were out of service for approximately 3.5 months to 4 months. And the reason is I was doing a cleaning process on these filters as I did in the previous video. That's what's stimulating this video. Everybody's concerned about the red dye test. Well, during that cleaning process, life events took place last year. And the filters got left in my vinegar water solution for at least 6 days. I think it was 7 or 8 days, but I can confirm, and I know for a fact for at least 6 days, these filters, these very same filters, stayed in that vinegar water solution. Okay? Now, based on all the interest and all the comments and all the do's and don'ts and people telling me what I can and can't do or should or shouldn't do, even expert opinions, because people are claiming that they're engineers when it comes to these carbon type filters. I thought for sure that maybe I did screw them up by leaving them in that vinegar water solution for about a week. So what I did is I ended up taking them out. I let them air dry, and because my life events were still taking place last year, they just got sat out on my dining table here in the cabin, right behind the camera there, and they just sat there. They weren't vacuum sealed. They weren't put into a baggie, a Ziploc or anything. They sat there on my table collecting dust for approximately 4 months. Just sitting there. I wasn't doing any filtering of water. I had other things on my mind. Anyhow, I didn't know what to expect. So I have since placed these very same filters, those same filters that sat in the water vinegar solution, and sat out there on the table in the cabin collecting dust for 4 months approximately, and I put them back into service. All I did was wash them off with my hands under running water. I did a reverse flow so I could prime them and put them back in service, and been using them ever since. I have done the red dye test before. This is the actual 3rd time that I have done so, and it's going to be the last, and I'm going to explain why. So that should give you some idea of what I'm dealing with here. Let me make this statement here. I understand that you come across this video here and you're watching it on the internet, on some platform, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it ends up on. And I realize that we can't trust and believe everything we see on the internet, right? So I tried to think about some way that I could prove, what I'm saying to you is true, but I can't. Even if I would have had some premonition that I was actually going to be doing videos on a platform like this, if I would have marked the filters in some special way, that could still be questioned on whether I put the same marks on another set of filters. All I have to offer you folks is my word. That's it. I'm telling you, these are the same filters that have been placed in use in 2014 in my Berkey, still today, and here we are in May of 2020. I have done the cleaning process that Berkey suggests one time. That was the only time I've done it. Every other time has been just as I do in that video that I put on how I go about cleaning my Berkey filters. And I give all the reasons why I do so. So you'll just have to take it for what it is. That's all I got to offer, is my word. Now, since I want to try to do this unedited, which I realize I can't, I've been sitting here trying to think of the things and some of the comments that have come across that video of my cleaning process, and there's been a lot. I mean, there's people that have taken their time, and I appreciate that, and given their advice and opinions concerning my cleaning process using the distilled water and vinegar, going about it the way I do. I appreciate it. I hear you. I read. I go to some of the links that you guys are talking about, and some of you have claimed to be engineers. I've tried to establish some communication with you because I was interested in your knowledge and your experience concerning these things, and I'm not getting the response. So, based on all of that, and my personal experience in utilizing these filters for going on 6 years now, and I'm confident that I have over 10,000 gallons of water. But if we want to play it safe, we'll just call it 9,000 gallons. Berkey suggests or claim that the filters are only good for 3,000 gallons to be certain that they are going to filter out the things they claim on their box. It's in the instructions. And I give my reasons why I think that number is not legit. Not with just Berkey, but probably Alexa Pure and maybe some of the other finer gravity filtration systems. I am still 100% satisfied with this Berkey system. So, thank you for your comments, thank you for your concerns, thank you for your advice, suggestions, and opinions. But nobody in the 2,000 something, 3,000, whatever it is, I don't know, comments, has convinced me that what I'm doing for my cleaning of my Berkey filters is damaging them. Until I can come across or I see evidence otherwise, I'm going to continue cleaning my Berkey carbon filters, not the white PF filters. I don't utilize those. I have no need or concern to utilize them right now. I do have them on hand, but I know zero about them. And I have zero experience with them other than purchasing and storing them. That's it. I'm convinced what I'm doing is still the best way to go about cleaning my Berkey filters. So there you have it. This is actually the third food coloring red dye test that I have conducted, and I don't like doing it, and I'm not going to do it anymore until I'm confident that I'm at another higher number, say 15,000 gallons of water. The first time I did it, I'll admit that I didn't know what to expect. I was surprised because I read all these comments from these expert people, and some of them claiming to be engineers. And I'm not saying that they're not engineers, and I'm not saying there's some validity to what they're saying. All I'm saying to you and everybody out there is proof is in the pudding, because this red food coloring that Berkey suggests you utilizing to conduct this test, I believe they use red because I think there's more assurance that it's not a natural coloring. This is a synthetic chemical red food dye, and a lot of people say and will tell you that it's carcinogenic. All right, so this is a chemical, and these filters are still filtering out this synthetic chemical after 10,000 gallons of water of usage. Should have been well done over 6,000 gallons. I think we can go at least another 10,000 gallons. That's a speculation of mine. So when I get to these significant numbers, and I feel confident and comfortable doing that because I'm filtering out my ground source well water to begin with, I may do another one. So I want to bring that up because what we're getting here is pure, clean water. Meaning this red food coloring is completely removed out of my water. Pretty amazing. Now, what if it didn't pass this test? And I did as Berkey suggested, check the wing nuts on your filters to make sure that it's not escaping and bypassing the filters and going through your seals. That's why it's important to make sure you take care of your seals, no scratches, gouges, even the wing nut, and you get a good snug fit. All right. So Berkey says that if you fail the red dye test, the first thing and only thing that they claim in their instructions, because I got them right on that table and I should have brought them over here, is to check your wing nuts, make sure your filters are snug and tight, and then rerun the test. And that's it. Pull the instructions out of your box. Pull them up online when it comes to conducting this red food dye test. That's what they say, and that's it. So if you fail the second one, you would think, well, that's common sense that your filters aren't working. It's time to replace them. Well, it seems like common sense that checking your wing nuts and making sure they're snug and you have no bypassing taking place from your filters, that seems common sense too. I just find it odd that in the instructions that if you fail the second time that they don't mention, hey, you got to replace them. Doesn't matter if you got 500 gallons through the filters or 5,000 gallons through the filters, you need to replace them because they're not working properly. And they don't have that in their instructions. So that brings me to the point. I got clear, clean water. The red food dye is being removed out of this H2O, this water. So now when we're done and complete, where's the red food dye? Well, duh. It's in the filters, right? The filters have captured that red food dye. So, if Berkey is suggesting that you conduct this test every time you do your cleaning, and they work, because these filters are designed to do so, and they claim that in their instructions, or in their introduction of their instructions that you get in your box, then you are intentionally placing a synthetic, carcinogenic, as people claim, chemical through your filters. And so you're inundating your filters with this red food dye. I don't like doing that. That's why I don't like conducting this test anymore. And because of their instructions on doing so, and just telling you to check your wing nuts and the sealing of your filters, make sure not bypassing, that just seems a little odd to me. Seems a little suspicious. Well, I would imagine every time you clean your filters and everything's, you know, working good so that you get your flow rate back, you're intentionally adding all these chemicals to the filters. Maybe they do lose their life a little quicker, or around that 4,000 gallon mark per filter. Just seems suspicious to me, so I don't do that. So if I got any leakage from the nipples of my filters, all I got to do is I got to lift this thing up. You know, if you got somebody else, you dry everything off underneath, and you can check and to see if you have water, clean water, seeping from your seals. You know, after you wait about 5 or 10 minutes and you fill it back up after you're cleaning to filter water. All you got to do is lift it up, or if you can't do so, get somebody to help you. You can tell if you got any water coming out. I don't need red water to come out to tell me that I'm leaking past my seals and nipples, bypassing the filters. So I don't even do it. I think this is probably one of the best, if not the best, gravity filtration systems out there. I can't make a claim for or against any others, because this is the only one that I felt comfortable enough to utilize. But for emergency preparedness, man, you cannot beat approximately $300 for this setup here, and filter out 10,000 plus gallons of water and still remove food coloring out of that water. You do 10,000 gallons of water and calculate what that would cost you buying gallon jugs of water in your grocery store or convenience stores and stuff like that. And especially the smaller bottles when it comes to the 20 ounce, 16 ounce, 1 liter bottles and everything. You tell me that this ain't worth $300. And I'm going to have a mature debate with you is what I'm going to do. All right, I'm blabbing my mouth and I want to get this done. I'm going to go ahead. I don't want to edit this video, but I got no choice but to shut this camera off, because this is going to take a little time. I'm going to let this go down, however far I think it's convincing. I'll just let the whole cycle come through. I'll turn the camera back on. Folks, I promise you, I'm not doing anything special. I have no personal, business, or professional interest in Berkey Water Filters, the company, or Millennial Concepts Ltd, the manufacturers of these filters. I got no interest in them. Not being paid, I'm just a satisfied customer. I'm not going to steer you wrong on my personal experience. Now, if you want to go listen to all these people on these comments, in that last video, take it into consideration. All I know is me and 2-3 other people know for a fact that these are the original filters that I purchased and put into use in 2014 and are still operating and are still removing red food coloring out of the water after almost 6 years and over 10,000 gallons of water. Could be more. I base that calculation from that time frame on my known usage of about 5 to 6 gallons of water every day. There'll be some that have been more, some less. Using it in cooking, making coffee, taking in water jugs and bottles to work and school, these filters have got their usage, and no other filters have been placed inside my Berkey filter. So I'm going to pause it. I'll be right back. It'll be for me a couple hours probably, but for you it'll be here in just a moment. Alright, I am back and I'm tired of waiting. So I am going to first come up top here. We're going to take a look inside this upper chamber. See if we can't get a focus. Can I brighten it up a little bit? It's red. That's the same red food coloring that is in there. You can see the reflection. Lid back on here. I'm going to come down. We are still dripping, but very slowly. We got about 3/4 of the water filtered through there, and as it gets down, it's going to slow the flow rate because you don't have as much pressure. And I'm going to show you, if you can tell, well, I'm trying to focus here. This water is crystal clear. There's the red food dye. There's the normal tap water. Let's get a different angle. What I found out is that it's all this cedar within the cabin that is causing some discoloration, you know, that might appear in the video. I don't know, but I cannot make it any more evident than that water is crystal clear. So let's get back here, put this thing back on the tripod and talk about it. Make this thing work for me here. Yeah, something like that. Bear with me. Brighten it up. It's raining outside now, so I'm going to continue on. Alright, that is all I'm going to do. I switched from brown to white, tried to see if that made a difference, but if you were here in person and you were looking at this water yourself with your own eyes, it is crystal clear. It has removed the red food coloring. So now I mentioned about where is that red dye at now. It's in the filters. So when I do this test, and I have done twice before, this is the last time I'm going to do it until I reach that mile marker of 15 or 20,000 gallons, if we make it that far. Now that could take somewhere about a year to 2 years for me to reach that point. If YouTube still allows me to be on their platform, on their short bus, then I'll come back. If I remember and I got nothing hindering me from doing so, I will do another red dye test. I won't be doing any more during my cleaning processes. So what I'm going to do now here, I'm going to do just as I've done before if I've done this test. You see we got about 3/4 of the water filtered through. There's another quarter. I don't have time and patience to wait any longer. I think I've proven my point. So I'm going to take the rest of this and I'm going to dump it down my drain. Yep, just like so. I'm hoping that maybe you can see that it's coming out. I will rinse this thing out here in a minute. Then I'm going to take it, set it here. Still see, you probably can't see any residual, but the same 2 filters are in there. I'm going to take this. Before I do, I'm going to take my tap water out. I'm going to dump it out. I'm going to dip my glass in here and I'm going to take this water. Still clear, clean water. And it tastes great. I'm going to go ahead and dump that out. Now I'm going to take the rest of this container. I'm going to dump it out. Because now what I wanted to do, and I've done before, is I want to try to see if I can extract some of those trapped chemicals, this stuff here, out of my filters. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it just like I do in my cleaning videos, I'm going to take my filters out here, my wing nuts. I'm going to pull my filter out, my gasket, rubber O-ring stuck in there, so I'm going to grab it and I'm going to put it back onto my filter. Remember, you want to check those things, make sure you don't have any scratches, cuts, or anything like that. We're going to install them in a reverse manner, just like so. I know this is turning into a longer video, but if you're interested, you'll stick around. If you're not, go watch your cat videos. Right? Right. O-ring. Put the other one on here. The reason I'm going to try to extract some of this with the similar cleaning process that I did in that previous video, which you can go check out yourself, is because I figure that most of this is being trapped on the outer portions of those filters. Turn around here. So I want to see if I can't extract or push some of those contaminants, the red food coloring, the carcinogen, out from the outer portions of that filter. I think it's probably better to try to do it that way than to try to do so with the filters installed correctly and try to push that stuff all the way through the walls of those filters. All I'm doing there is just trying to rinse out my upper chamber. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a new, here's my other 2 jugs that I had filled with my tap water. I have 2 new jugs of distilled water here, and I'm going to open the seals up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put me 1 gallon of that in here. All I'm doing, this is the reverse flow that I was talking about. You could prime your filters with in this manner if you wanted to. Then I have down here, I'm a little over half of distilled white vinegar. I utilized that in a previous video, and this is part of my cleaning process anyway. And I'm going to pour the whole thing in here. So we're probably looking at somewhere between 8 and 10 cups. So I'm going to go a little stronger than I have before. I typically did 4 to 6 cups. So I'm thinking there's about 8 to 10 cups of distilled white vinegar in this jug. And then I'm going to take another gallon of distilled water here. And I'm going to fill this thing up completely to the top. Right about there. That leaves me a little less than a half a gallon. And now I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait. And I'm going to do a reverse flow. We got the gravity pressure providing the force to try to extract some of that. And you can already tell, I don't know if you can tell on the camera here, but I'm going to reach around here and I'm going to grab it to make sure you can tell. You can already see that the red food dye coming off. I'm sure at this point it's probably off the very outer surfaces of these carbon filters. Take a look in top here. I have got this pretty much, well, it was to the rim, filled up. So now what I'm going to do, this is, I'm going to wait until this level gets up to about the filters. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to empty this. Now typically I would do this in my lower chamber, but I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. Okay, I would do this in my lower chamber, and then as I see the water filling up when I'm doing my reverse flow, I'm going to go ahead and empty that water out through the nozzle here and dump it out in the yard or down the sink or drain, because I don't want this red dye sitting here soaking into my filters. I'm trying to extract as much as I can. Let me put you back on the stand. Alright, so now I have done the red dye test. This is my third red dye test. I've made the claim that I have filtered over 10,000 gallons of water through these particular Black Berkey filters. I am not going to continue to do the red dye test anymore. But right now I feel better. Life is going good. And I wanted to respond to all the people that were concerned about me doing the red dye test. Now, for those of you that think that I need to send off water samples to some independent analyzer or company, I'm not going to do that. This is my test. If it's removing the red food dye out of my water to crystal clear consistency on my test, that's good enough for me, especially considering the water source that I have. If you want to take your Berkey and you want to take the time, as I have, and filter 5,000, 10,000 gallons of water utilizing the cleaning method that I do myself, and I would suggest, then you send off for those independent water tests on your samples and pay $100, $200, $300 to get, whatever results you think you're looking for. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You can send off for your own test. If you're not convinced of what I'm saying, and I don't blame you, you're on the internet watching this. All I have to offer you, like I said before, is my word that I am telling you the truth based on my own experience and my own knowledge of knowing that those filters right here that I initially purchased with this system are the same filters that I'm utilizing today here in 2020. And these were installed and purchased in 2014. And I'm confident over 10,000 gallons of water. When I get done flushing my filters and trying to extract some of this red dye out of my filters, what I'll do, I'll run another cycle of distilled water and vinegar through it if I feel like it's necessary. Okay, but regardless of how many times I do this, when I get done, I will take my filters and I'm going to put them back in the correct way. And then I'm going to run at least one cycle of just my plain tap water through the filters, and I'm going to discard that water. Then I start my regular filtering cycles from there on out and drinking it without any vinegar taste and any vinegar smell to my water. Anyway, I'm glad you stopped by this channel. If you found anything edifying or beneficial in this video, all I'm asking you to do is share the information with somebody else. Meanwhile, I'll see you in the next video if you come back. Have a nice day. May all your branches become full of fruit, and I'll see you next time. Whoop!